Cavin Elizabeth here, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you guys 10 tips for planning your destination wedding, whether that is overseas or just across the country. So it can be very challenging trying to plan a destination wedding from afar, whether it's because you don't speak the local language or just simply because you just don't live there and you're not able to get over there for planning your wedding. So I wanted to give you guys a couple of different tips for how to plan your destination wedding with more ease. And so my first tip is to be mindful of the cost. So it can definitely be really challenging to figure out the cost of planning your wedding there. So I recommend doing a lot of research before you even pick your location. Maybe have a couple different locations in mind and start researching. Be particularly mindful if you are choosing something like a small island or maybe a more rural city. You might not have your selection of vendors that you want there because it's harder to get there. Not a lot of people live in those areas, so you're going to have to pay more to get those vendors that you do want to that area. You're going to be spending more money on maybe their lodging or their flights, things like that. So it can be more costly even if the venue itself seems really affordable. Also think about things like, are there local events happening at the time that you want to have your wedding there? And that's going to make your flight cost and your hotel cost more expensive. So just make sure that you're researching the wide scope of different things that could be going on in that area, and even costs related to getting to that area, not just yourself, but also your vendors. Ideally, you should start planning your destination wedding earlier than you think. Now, you could definitely just jump on a plane, just the two of you, and go have a small elopement somewhere really quickly and not take a lot of time. But if you are planning for a larger event and having a lot of guests, you do need to start planning as early as possible, because again, you have a lot to consider and you're going to want to send out your invitations and your save the dates early. I'm going to talk about that later, but you have a lot that you need to do. You might even want to plan for enough time to be able to go over there in advance to do a site visit, tastings, get a lay of the land to figure out where you're going to want to have your guests stay, go visit all those hotel options, try to immerse yourself in different activities to see what you want to suggest to your guests, things like that. So you need time to be able to do all of these things well in advance. So make sure that you start planning as early as possible. So my third suggestion, and I suggest this a lot on my channel, and I really do think it's worth the cost, to hire a wedding planner. And for something like a destination wedding, I don't just mean hire a day of coordinator. I really do mean hire a planner, whether it's for month of or full service planning. This is really worth the cost, because if you are not living in your destination city, you are going to want someone who can help you coordinate vendors, maybe even find vendors for you to hire, and somebody who can help you arrange for travel stuff, really just anything to make sure that you are making the best out of your budget. All sorts of things are going to go into a destination wedding that you might not even think of, things that I can't even think of, that a planner is really going to know all about. And the planner doesn't necessarily have to live in your destination city, but they should be a planner who is experienced in planning destination weddings. And you can find a great planner through Instagram. You can find them through other vendor referrals. Maybe your photographer can refer them. You can find them through the venue. You can find them on the Knot. Places like that are going to be a great way to find an experienced destination wedding planner. Again, whether they live in the city you're getting married in or not, but just hire yourself a great planner, and they're going to be really instrumental in making sure that your destination wedding plans smoothly. The next one is to hire your dream photographer. Again, if you're maybe getting married in a smaller city or smaller country, you might not be able to find a photographer who matches your style living there. Don't be afraid to fly someone in or have someone drive in from a couple hours away, and it might really be worth the cost to do this. And you can always borrow the extra cost to get your photographer flying in or driving in from somewhere else from another area of the budget, especially if photography is a priority to you. A lot of people planning destination weddings do this. It is very common because they can't find the photographer they really want living in the city where they are getting married. This is very common to do, and something that is totally worth it to make sure you have your dream photographer if photography is a huge priority to you. The next one is to make sure that you create a wedding website. These are really important to do for destination weddings. I have a whole video all about wedding websites that you should definitely go watch. I will link it in the description down below so you can get more details on that. But your wedding website should absolutely have details about how to travel to the wedding, whether it's what airport to fly into, and then where they should be staying. So what hotels, as well as activities activities that your guests can do on the times when they are not spending time at your wedding related events. The next one is to get wedding insurance. I also have a video about this. I will link in the description down below so you can go watch that for more information. But when it comes to a destination wedding, especially when you are going to be flying to a destination wedding, and things can definitely go wrong with flights, you might miss certain parts of your wedding, and if things go really, really wrong, you really want to make sure that you have wedding insurance to cover as much of your wedding as possible. So this is something I highly recommend when it comes to planning a destination wedding. It is well worth the cost, and it is not even a very big cost at all. So my next tip is really important. You want to research the legalities of getting married in your destination city. So this is a little bit easier if you are just getting married in a different state and you live in the United States. So you just want to make sure that wherever you're getting married, you research what you need to do. If you are able to legally get married with your ceremony, and that kind of helps you finish the process from your initial part of your marriage license back in the United States or wherever you got married, then that is great. But maybe you are also required to have a civil ceremony back in the United States and your abroad ceremony doesn't really count. Maybe there's paperwork that you need to fill out abroad. You can just Google like legally getting married in X city or getting married across state lines. So all of these things need to be researched before you actually go get it done. Make sure you're doing this well in advance, at least 2 or 3 months in advance of getting married, so that you're well prepared to make sure that when you come back home, you are legally married and it is officially done. So the next tip is to make sure that you are sending save the dates and invitations really early. You can send your save the dates for a destination wedding as early as 8 months before the wedding. Make sure that your guests know in advance that this is happening so they can mark the dates on their calendars in case they definitely want to attend. And then I would send your wedding official invitations maybe 4 to even 6 months in advance. 6 months is pretty early, but if it's international, 6 months might not be a bad idea, but definitely 4 months in advance for destination weddings if all the guests are going to be traveling to the event. That gives them enough time to book their flights, book their hotels, things like that. They need time to plan as opposed to a local wedding where it's much easier for them to just take off and attend 20 minutes down the road. My next tip has to do with decor. So if you are getting married abroad, the selection of things like linens, rentals, decor pieces like that are a lot harder to find. The US has an amazing selection of those tactile pieces for your wedding day. So it is very likely that you might want to pack those items with you, rent them here and take them with you. So you are probably going to want to pack those in suitcases and then check them on the flight. That is something that I hear all the time from my planner friends who plan a lot of international weddings, is they're constantly having to take them. Now you do have another option, and that would be to ship them. This is a little bit riskier because of course you always run the risk that they could get lost. And if you are planning to ship them, I would ship them at least a couple of weeks, if not maybe a month in advance, and then ship them to an individual rather than maybe your hotel, just so you have a responsible person receiving them. So maybe the owner of the venue if they're willing to do that, or your planner, better yet, so someone like that who can receive them and then store them safely for you. My last tip, and this is a fun one, is to host multiple events over the weekend. So really make this an immersive experience for your guests. And if you're thinking, well, Cavin, I don't have the budget to do that, my thing to say to you is that these events don't necessarily have to cost a lot of money. You can organize these optional events, so not all guests have to attend these if they don't want to. They can be optional, and you can organize something as simple as on the day before the wedding, everybody can meet up for just a walk through the wedding city, and you can just hire a really reasonably priced tour guide to take you guys through the city on a little walking tour. Or maybe everybody meets up at the beach and you have a little volleyball tent set up and everybody can play volleyball. So it can be something as simple as that. Or maybe if you have a little bit more of a budget and you've got a smaller group, like only 20 guests for your wedding, you could have a cooking class set up in Italy for your guests. So it can be really small little immersive cultural activities like that for your guests, and it can be really fun and exciting. I've heard of some people organizing a tennis event for their guests. So it can really be anything fun. You can immerse them in the culture of your city, or just have it just be something generic. So whatever you would like to do can be something related to your interests as a couple and your personalities or your history, but just make a fun weekend of optional events for your guests so that they have something fun to do, as well as including those other events in the city for guests to do on their downtime on your wedding website. So those are my tips for hosting a destination wedding. Hope you guys enjoyed these, and leave a comment down below which one was your favorite, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!